Welcome to the NZ Nomad Runner podcast. I'm Chris Lucas.
And I'm Charlotte Milne.
We are run coaches at CMF Running, where we coach runners and athletes of all abilities to any surface, any distance races. Today we've got a very special treat for you. Chester Holt-Quick, who has recently completed his SK in the Tararua range, 21 hours and something or other. Do you know what the time was, Shah?
20 hours and 10 minutes.
21 hours and 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, epic. 7th fastest time ever on his first attempt. How cool is that? And he just did it last weekend last week or so. So we talked to him, a bit about the Tararuas and, his mission day itself.
Yeah, one thing I like about these types of podcasts is we get to hear about the runners, in this case Chester's running story, and his experience doing obviously the SK in this situation. It was a real pleasure to have you on the podcast, Chester. Thoroughly enjoyed listening to you today, and I'm sure that you guys, our listeners, will also do that as well, whether you're out running, if you're listening to this in the car, if you're doing the dishes, whatever you're doing, enjoy listening to this podcast.
Absolutely. Notices we have upcoming the Rotorua training weekend. That is the weekend of the 24th and 25th of January in Rotorua. That is on sections of the Tararuas course, just for CMF Run Club members. If you want to join, you come along. You can come to just the Saturday run if you like. That's the main run. If you're travelling in from out of town, zip in and zip out. Or if you're coming from further afield or you'd like to stay in the shared house, there's a couple of spots there left. We do a good we do the Okataina to around about the Redwoods on the Saturday, which is part of the 100k and 100 miler course. And on Sunday, we do a nice out and back for anywhere between 90 minutes and 3 hours, depending on what your goals and training is, on the Tararuas Trail, which is part of the miler course. So that's coming up on the weekend of the 24th of Jan. If you're keen on that, get in touch with us. Then on Tararuas race weekend itself, on Friday the 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, race day.
Oh yeah, Valentine's Day. That's pretty cool.
It often happens. Tararuas falls on. Yeah, it's quite funny. Have seen many a finish line marriage proposal on Valentine's Day at Tararuas over the years, or seen a few of them anyway. Our shakeout run on Friday the 13th, so after the Pōwhiri welcome at Te Puia. It's at 8:30 a.m. at the Redwoods, and we meet at the corner of Te Tokarangi Drive and Tararuas Road, which is just the wee road that drives into the Redwoods. We meet just on the corner there. There's a little car park there. Meet at 8:30. We'll start running about 8:45. Just a gentle 15-20 minute jog in the nice lower flat trails, soft trails in the Redwoods. Great for all are welcome to that. Anyone's welcome to come. It's an open run. Great for just connecting with some folks. If you've travelled from overseas, or you listen to the podcast, we haven't met, we'd love to see you there. Just a great place, great way to connect and shake out those race nerves.
Awesome. That sounds great. Looking forward to seeing you there. And other than that,
enjoy the podcast. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, my running story is a little bit unorthodox. So, I ran at college and did athletics and triathlon and multisport. And then when I hit about 20, I kind of stopped running completely. I spent most of my 20s and 30s, I'm still in my 30s but doing surfing. So I was mostly a surfer, and I wasn't particularly fit for running, although I'd go for the odd run. But then COVID came along, and I got really unfit and really unhealthy. And, there wasn't too much to do during that time for me other than work from home and drink craft beer. So I was always on the craft beers, and then it would be followed by McDonald's or junk food. And I really I got a little bit overweight, and you asked me to run 5K, and I would have been huffing and puffing.
Wow.
People went one of two ways in COVID, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. And that's funny because, you could see one of the cool things was, the roads were empty and you could go for a run and like when you had the opportunity, when you were allowed to, and it was really quite nice. So it was around that time that I did try to kind of resurrect my running and my fitness. But yeah, very interesting time. And so I had a bit of a midlife crisis, I guess, and I bought a Garmin watch, and that probably was the unleashing factor, and I just kind of got really hooked into it. And I remember there was a default training program on Garmin called, I think I arbitrarily selected half marathon with Greg, and I thought, oh, I'll do I'd never done a half marathon. Like I did stuff at college, but it wasn't long stuff. And so I started off the training program half marathon with Greg. This would have been maybe 2021, 2022. And I was loving it, man. It was so good. I think I just had never really appreciated the value in that easy running, that whole Z2, where you just go out for 45 minutes or however long, and you really are going truly easy. And it was just a great way to kind of build up kilometers without, I think in the past I'd always go out and just send it for like 40 minutes. And then I'd be like, I had no idea how to like do easy running. And yeah, I made some great progress with that, and I just loved it. And that just put me onto a roll. And similar thing happened with my partner Talia. She didn't go down the unhealthy vortex like I did, but she kind of got into running around the same time as I did, and it was really like a relationship activity. So we'd go running together. Eventually she got a Garmin watch as well. I think she might have got an Apple to start, and we entered an event, our first trail event, and it just became this this relationship activity actually. And we would enter events and we'd like go exploring new areas and jog with each other and encourage each other. So that was how it all started.
That's so cool, man. And so talk us about so you mentioned you ran, was it back at high school and stuff like that when you were a kid?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I really enjoyed my multi-sport at college. I was a bit of a delinquent student. I was like pretty wayward, and I had a couple of good-hearted teachers who realized that if we can just hold this guy's feet in the sporting domain, then he'll kind of stay on the rails.
Yeah, he's got a better chance.
And they were right, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. Like it's pretty unnatural to sit in a classroom and sit at a desk for 9 hours. I think when you're that age, but sporting helped me a lot, and I got really into multi-sport. So that would have probably been from my age 14 through to 17, where I was really like quite heavily into it. So I was into the running, road cycling, mountain biking, kayaking, and to a slightly lesser extent into triathlon as well. I never liked triathlon quite as much. I think it didn't have the exploratory nature aspect. All the multi-sport races were in really neat areas, and so we'd go to like Taumaranui, Apotiki, just all these places that I would never otherwise go and explore nature. And I think I just loved that. So that was my secondary school, and we were pretty successful. I went to Waiuku College, and we had, at least during that time, we had a lot of strong athletes, and we'd put together multi-sport teams, which I always loved as well. It was good fun. And yeah, just once I finished college, and moved into university. I didn't continue with it, which was a bit of a shame, but that's just how life is.
It's amazing, man, because a lot of people will sort of see your sort of story in your SK, which we'll get to, and your other results as well, like winning fault line 100K, and just be like, oh man, this guy has just started running 3 years ago, and look at the, But there's always there's always a backstory of just a lot of the time there's a backstory of like endurance, like for several years, like somewhere in there in your body from when you're a teen, and that base has been built, that endurance base has been built, and was sort of, although you weren't doing as much in your 20s, it was just waiting to be sort of tapped into again, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And like I mainly surfed in my 20s and 30s, and surfing, I guess you could call it a cross-training activity
Definitely.
from a runner's perspective. Um, that provides a lot of fitness in and of itself. You can be out surfing for like, I don't know, sometimes like 4 6 hours, and it is very demanding. So I was still getting a lot of fitness from that, but it's not quite at that same level as when you're really dedicated on your running and you're putting in the training miles and the hours and stuff. So it's not quite at that same level, but it still provides that base, as you say.
Yeah, it's awesome. So and then we get into the last few years. You sort of gotten into running, and you started getting some cool wee results. Is that sort of spurred you on? You're like, oh, I'm really into this. I'm not too shabby at this stuff. I'm really into it. Is that kind of the story how it's been for you?
Kind of. It started. The funniest part of it is how it started with Talia and I. So our first trail running event that we entered was the Mount Isthmus Traverse down in Wanaka, and that was in,
Wicked.
I think, November 2022. As I said, I got my Garmin watch and had started trying to get fit a bit before that, but that was our first event, and I think it might have been about 27k, and Talia absolutely whipped my ass. I think I might have bonked at about 20k, and I like walked the last 7k to the finish. And I remember her mum, who lives down there, she was at the finish line, you know, laughing that I'd been beaten by Talia, and I got some text messages from Talia's brother-in-law, and it was great. It's all a laugh. So yeah, so it started off certainly a real relationship-based activity, and then I focused a little bit on my training. Probably had a bit more of a training focus and a seriousness than Talia did. And so kind of since then, we entered events regularly, and I put a lot of time and effort into my training. So it's certainly not come along easy. Like I really do try quite hard with my running, and yeah, just progressively got better results as things gone along.
Yeah, so cool, man. Yeah, I remember seeing you at we were at Mesh last year. Was that the first time we met you at Mesh last
I think
year?
it was like I remember seeing you at the Y2K
Oh, yeah.
24. It's so
Oh,
funny when you get to this time of year. In 24 when Chris did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about there, and then we met you again at Mesh. And I think you had done like 70 or 80 Ks or something, and you were just sort of like, this is the furthest I've ever run. I don't know, like, it's just like, it was just quite funny, and
yeah.
it just sort of speaks volume though to like your progress and stuff, I think as well, and your dedication, and because it was only a couple of months after that that you did the Fault Line 100k, and sort of a similar thing happened again. We were talking to you the day before the race, and you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. I've never run 100Ks before. like, how do I run 100Ks? We're like talking about the course and this kind of thing. And then you go out and win it,
I've got a bit of a funny racing philosophy. Like when I was younger, I was quite competitive, but I'm not really very competitive anymore. I'm quite competitive with myself. So I like to really make personal progress, but like I don't really pay attention to other runners when I'm racing, because my interpretation is like, I'm running as best as I can for my body. And if somebody is running faster than me, then all power to them. They should beat me, because this is where I'm at today. And I don't really like to thrash the body too hard. So I'm always trying to just find, the right mode for the body. So that can be quite nice for racing sometimes, because it means that I don't really get too nervous.
That's a great approach.
Yeah. And I also step back as well. And I think, if I'm comparing myself so much to other people and taking it that seriously, then is this really like a light, leisure, enjoyable activity that I want to be doing? So I try to be pretty conscientious in making sure that actually it's kind of a privilege to be able to run and to have health and fitness, and I should be trying to enjoy it as much as I can, even on race day. I think it can sometimes lead to like a healthy pacing, and an enjoyable event. And it often leads to success in an event because you have like a positive psychology there. I tend to race pretty badly when the pain cave comes along or when something negative happens. I'm still working on my psychology, but whenever I can manage a positive psychology state, and I usually do pretty well for myself. So that kind of helps. And I think sometimes like that approach, like with the Faultline 100, just to be like, I'm just going to go out and do my best and try to get the right pace, then I think that can lead to success. I think people often take their running like far too seriously. I mean, maybe that's important for them, but for me, that doesn't quite vibe. Yeah.
I totally agree. Because, I mean, when you talk about like training optimally, that requires training within our ability to get the best adaptations. And then same on race day, right? We can only race, like you mentioned, we can only race our own ability. And especially when you talk about trail, some of us have different strengths and weaknesses on different kind of trails and terrains and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
when we're sticking to our own process and doing our own thing and not worrying about not wasting energy on what's going on around us, we do tend to get a better result,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
and enjoy that process of almost self-discovery,
Yeah. 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 I've learned a lot, about myself and stuff through my running. I'm sure other people have learned as many lessons about themselves. It's pretty cool. You've got to. I'm always trying to find there is a place for work to be done, and I think like really in your training week where those workouts are. Like I've gotten a little bit better at putting my head in the kind of space to say, you know what, this is work, and like you're here to do work, and when you get those quality workouts in, and as importantly followed by good recovery, like that's where you do that the mahi, and it really like then kind of yields the benefits on race day. But that's kind of the point in my training week where maybe I'm a bit more serious about my running, and then when race day comes along, I like to be real lighthearted about it and enjoy it. And especially there's other aspects on an event as well, like all the social stuff.
yeah.
So if you come to race day and you're super serious, you lose some of that stuff.
Totally.
Yeah, I love that approach as well. I don't always get it right, but I think that's quite good and quite right. Taking training somewhat serious, but having like I have a saying like have fun, especially especially on race day. I think like I find that I have more fun on race day, or remind myself to have more fun on race day, and it kind of does mean like have fun in the challenging aspect as well. But like you're out there with others who are also achieving like awesome things no matter the time, right? I think it gets sometimes blurred that like what you're actually doing and what other people are doing. Like you're running 21Ks, you're running a marathon, you're running this and that, it gets somewhat normalized. But if you can have fun out there, it kind of creates a good atmosphere for yourself and your running. It energizes you, and obviously hopefully for others as well, opposed to if you're a serious Mr. Serious kind of vibe. You kind of blocking off the experience, right, of doing the race. I love that. I love that. Love that philosophy that you. I relate. I think I relate to it a bit.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's never that enjoyable to compare yourself too much to other people, and all of those less positive aspects of it, because there's always someone who's faster than you. Like it doesn't matter what kind of scope you're in. You can be in like a local event, or you could be on the international stage. It doesn't really matter. There's always someone faster, and if you've got that mindset of always comparing yourself to somebody else and taking it real seriously, I just think you're never going to enjoy it as much as you could otherwise enjoy it.
Yeah. Comparison's the theft of joy,
Yeah. Some of the most inspiring experiences I've had in the running so far have been from the social interactions, at events and after events and stuff. So I try not to underestimate the value in all that. Yeah.
I've noticed that you do like quite a lot of distances. Like you seem to do 10K stuff, 50K stuff. You've done 100K and you've done this SK thing. Is that something that you have thought about that you want to do for like a training perspective, or is it just something that you've done because you're interested in all aspects of running?
Yeah, I think it's probably like a semi-structured, like a semi-intentional approach. I'm always striving for balance, like whether that's to try and like make sure I've got enough cross training in the mix or whatnot. Like with running, I wouldn't ever want to be focusing too much on like a single distance. Like I think you can fall into like the 50K, or you could fall into the 100K or the miler, and I think you're potentially robbing yourself of some benefits. So, like, I mean, you've got to be a little bit specific, especially when you've got a race coming up that's a focused race. You don't want to be going out there doing like 400-meter reps when you've got like a 50K race approaching. But like in a more general sense, I personally find I get a lot of benefit from having like a wide array of training stimuli in my training. So like I really like strides. Like there's just those 20-second bursts for kind of my running economy and form and efficiency. And I also like doing some shorter, like 400 to 1,000-meter repeats, just to be able to get that speed and that power and have that kind of available, even though I might be doing something a bit longer. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of timing as to when I do that. Like I try to be a little bit coherent with my training so that I'm doing specific stuff leading up to a focus event. But I think it's good for just your overall running ability and the different dimensions to have like a variation in what you do. So sometimes, like recently, I've been doing a lot of mountain running with a lot of vert, and there's a reason for that because I've got some events coming up that have that profile and that terrain. But then after that, so probably in like May, June, July, I'll likely like back away from the vert quite a lot and focus more on some flat road. Because I think
Winter
that,
time, that kind of stuff, eh?
yeah, allow the body to deload some of that like fatigue, because the mountains and stuff, they will impose quite a lot of fatigue like into the muscles, and sometimes you actually need like several weeks or a month or 2 months even to kind of deload that fatigue. And the road provides a different type of training stimulus. I mean, that intensity, high leg speed, potentially like higher heart rates for periods of the run. Like it's still a stress on the body, but it's just a different type of stress. I find it nice to kind of mix it up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like a bigger stress in the moment, but a quicker recovery. And the long stuff is sort of slower to build up that fatigue in a way, but it sticks around longer, doesn't it?
Yeah. It can be amazing how long it stays there. Sometimes in the past, I don't think I quite got my head around a taper, and I was never allowing like enough time to get rid of that mountain fatigue, especially the hills. It takes a good solid like 2 weeks. Once I realized that, I was hitting race day and being like, wow, I feel amazing. My legs feel so fresh. Um, Whereas before that, I was going into races and I was like still loaded up with fatigue, and I was like, God, I just feel like a bit sluggish here. It's just amazing. Like, I don't know, it's really so easy to overdo the running, overdo the training, and it's quite hard to get enough recovery going. Part of that's, I think, because we all love running and you want to go for a run, especially psychologically. I'm often like between a rock and a hard place with my mind and my body. My mind's like, let's go for a run. And my body's like, we want to rest.
Yeah, you have to ride that wave, eh? Sometimes, it's like, if you sit on it, it will pass, but you just have to sit on it and just be like, no, I'm not running today because I'll feel better later. It's like if I run, I'm probably going to feel shit later because I'm actually quite tired. But it is quite hard because we like to run. Having an off season doesn't always come naturally, but it is worth it. Right.
I've been trying to bring in some walks, which have been helping quite a bit for the mind. It seems to satiate the mind, and it's kind of like a Z1 in a way, like a Z1 running equivalent, and it provides really nice recovery. I'm trying to get one walk done a week. See how that goes.
Nice, man. You're really speaking our language in terms of like philosophies around like training folks as well, like the variation and the periodization, and just bringing in Yeah. Different goals at different times, and it's just makes for a great enjoyment factor, but just different stimulus, and
You can get a lot out of your body, if you do the
Yeah.
right grip. And I think that
consistency,
It's
people,
interesting. It's interesting at the moment. Like I'm doing Tararuas 50, and it's very runnable. And then I'm like, oh, after that, I feel like going and doing mountain stuff. And I
yeah,
before I did this fast stuff, I was like, oh, I want to do fast stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, it's good. I think it
yeah.
probably.
I've seen some good quality workouts from you, Charlotte, and some more speed stuff coming into the mix. It's cool to see.
Yeah, thanks, Chester.
Yeah.
It's been good fun. I do love running fast, but I also do love walking actually and hiking and being up, mountain stuff. It is good fun.
Nice to have that variation, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think just you can use your body, like you said, in lots of different ways. And yeah, hopefully over time, well, it doesn't necessarily, but you might get better at certain things. And yeah, I do like variety.
it's great for longevity in the sport. Like so often, as coaches, we see, folks just sort of come and go. Especially wanting to folks coming into the sport and just pushing the big distances too quickly and jumping into multiple milers in close succession, maybe over a 2 or 3 year period, and then they sort of get serious injury or burnout and kind of fade away as sort of quick as they came. And so we want to have longevity in the sport. It's good to have a more balanced approach.
Yeah, it's a big ask on the body, isn't it? The miler. Like
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing a miler myself yet, but just the physiological stress on the body. I mean, people have got to bake in plenty of recovery and some downtime if they're going to do that, and make sure that they're loving and respecting their body enough to give it some time to heal.
Yeah, that's a good shout, man. Yeah.
I always feel like it's kind of like the dysfunctions of the mind are leading to kind of the agent just thrashing the body. I think I see this in other runners. We all just love our running, and you just want to run, and I could almost say everybody's overtraining.
yeah.
It's all relative though, because you look at someone's Strava, right, and you're like, shit, they're doing 100, whatever it is, 100 Ks and this amount of vert, and it's like if I did that, I'd be overtraining, but sometimes that's all right for that person. But yeah,
Yeah,
it is more is better, right? Except for when it's not.
yeah,
Yeah, specificity trumps. Yeah, specificity and consistency. Yeah, the amount of times we get results out of athletes who they come to us and plateau, not getting better, and then we get them running at the right intensities at the right time. Their overall volume ends up being less, but hey presto, they start getting results and getting better. The amount of time we see that, because we got to balance
yeah,
all the other aspects of our life too. It's not just the running; it's all the life stuff that we're doing. It's careers, it's family life.
yep.
So yeah, there's a lot to. We're not all pro athletes that get to have a nap during the day every day and recover for our afternoon session and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I still find time for a nap, but yeah, it's not a pro athlete luxury.
Love it.
Got to get that nap in.
Yeah. I love the old napping too.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool, man. Let's get on to your SK. Give us a bit of an overview of just the Tararuas for folks that might be listening that don't know. A bit of an overview of the Tararuas and just like the SK, the sort of 3 courses, the terrain, that kind of thing. However you like.
Yeah, well, the Tararuas, they've got to be. I feel like they're really the icing on the cake of like Wellington's kind of trail mountain running scene. So I moved to Welly 2 years ago, and initially I moved down and I found just the magic of all the local greenbelt trails, like Marker and Waimapihi, and I was blown away. And then at the beginning or mid last year, Kyle Malone and some of the fellas took us out to Jumbo Holdsworth in the snow, and I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God. Like I didn't realize that there were such big mountains so close to Wellington. And I mean, the snow is magical in and of itself, but that was my first experience. And then I just gradually, I did another event. I did the Y2K, and that had a little bit of Tararuas in it, just with Mount Frith. And these things all started to kind of conjoin and conspire to get me even more interested in the Tararuas. And then I did the Tararua mountain race at the beginning of last year, which is the Southern Crossing. So that's Kaitoki, up Marchant Ridge to Mount Hector, and then down to Otaki Forks. That's an absolute classic. You've got to do that.
Yeah, I've got my entry.
Oh, fantastic!
Can't wait.
It's such a great vibe. It's really like kind of the brother or the sister of Jumbo Holdsworth. Those two events, to me, they kind of go hand in hand. They're both wonderful, awesome people. And so then I also did Jumbo Holdsworth last year, which is great. But I was on tired legs for that one post MASH, but I still loved it. And then I just started to really want to unlock more of the Tararuas. So those are kind of like the Queenstown, well, Jumbo Holdsworth especially, I'd call that the Queenstown of the Tararuas. And so you've got to go there first, and you appreciate the tourism and the hotels, and it's like but the real magic is when you start to explore the deeper aspects and the kind of the unlocked parts of the puzzle.
Yes.
So I started with some other loops, like there's the Broken Axe Pinnacle loop, which is quite close to Jumbo Holdsworth. And then I'm forever messaging friends who have done the SK and know about the Tararuas. They probably get extremely pissed off with me. I'm always messaging them quite late at night, and I'll send them a map and I'll say, hey, have you done this loop? Or I'll have a question. I'll be like, can you get from here to here? So luckily I've got some cool friends, and Callum Mallet, for example, he's always providing me with necessary late night intel. And so many of these runners and my friends, they've done the SK, which is like kind of the ultimate challenge across the Tararuas, and they've done all these other routes as well. So I couldn't help but quell my interest, and I started looking into it. And if you go to the Big Sunday Run website, and you go to SK, you can find all of these great runners who have completed it. So so the SK as well just is the Shoreman Kaitoki Traverse. So it's named because the road access point to the north used to be Shoreman's Road, I think. It's now Putara Road. So you could call it the PK now, but it's never quite stuck. And so the big challenge for the FK is to say, okay, well, we've got the Tararuas, and you've got to get from the top to the bottom and traverse the main ridgeline, basically. And so that's the SK main range, which is the bigger challenge. And then the two other versions are that, well, there's four now actually, but the two other main versions is you've got the SK Tarn, which is similar to the main range, but it drops down into the river, so it's slightly easier. But I don't think you'd ever use the word easy for it.
Don't be luring, folks.
the SK Valleys, which tries to avoid the main range, but still has a few thousand vert. And again, it's not easy, but you're going from north to south, and you're following the rivers through. So those are the main three. We can probably leave off some of the more esoteric versions and permutations that have come about, but all three of them are. So the main range is 80 kilometers, and it's got 7,000 meters elevation gain. And in and of itself, you'd say, okay, well, that's a bit of a challenge, but the real challenge is the terrain. It's just, it's so slow going. You probably end up being able to run maybe a third of it, maybe up to a half. But if you're running 50% of the main range, then you're going into like FKT territory. That's really good going, and you'd need really good conditions as well. So yeah, it's pretty tenacious terrain. And that's mainly what slows you down so much, rather than the fact that it's got 7,000 meters of vert, which is a lot, of course.
Yeah, we were watching Andy Carruthers video the other day, because we met him at the Ian Preston Memorial Run, and he's also the Tararua race director, for those that don't know. So yeah, had a good yarn to him, and then sort of we're going to have him on the podcast in a couple of weeks too.
Great.
talk about Tararua racing that. But yeah, discovered his video and about his weekend SK, wasn't it, that they did, and took him a few goes. But
Yeah.
yeah, just the footage and the terrain and the the conditions, the clag.
Yeah.
Yeah, just unreal. Is that just a special place, isn't it?
It's very special. Yeah. His movie's fantastic. So I've watched that one about 10 times now, I think. Um, and it's hard to put into words the Tararua experience. I mean, I think in the introduction of the movie, it might be Tim Sutton who describes the SK as being transcendent, which is probably pretty close to how I feel about it. There's a certain magic about being out there, but also, I guess because you're so small and the mountains are so big, and the weather and the terrain is so gnarly that you do feel this kind of your frame of reference being put into proper perspective,
Mm.
and it's refreshing. It's kind of spiritually refreshing in a way, and so it's nice to be in that context where you've got that sense of it's a vulnerability in a way, like a physical vulnerability, which is nice, but then you mix in some of the other stuff with that, like the sheer beauty of the nature there, the sheer height of the mountains, um, the runner vibe that is present, currently and before. So people who just want to send it are always going for a big challenge, or they're trying to get like a Strava segment across some peaks, or they're trying to do one of the traverses. So it's all of those ingredients which come together, which make it just so special. Yeah, so it's very hard to put into words. Anybody who's gone out and done one of the kind of the Tararuas loops that are a big challenge. I mean, I think everybody feels the same.
I feel like we're just at that you were describing before, like, because we've only just moved to, we permanently relocated to, Upper Hutt. So when you were talking about how you just moved to Wellington, I feel like we're kind of at that spot now where we're just starting to, scratch the surface a little bit, and
Yeah,
done a couple of little things, and we're starting to take out the maps and look at the
yeah,
routes and watch the videos, and got my entry to the Tararua race. And we're talking about things like, in a couple of years it would be really cool to do the SK like over a weekend. Like, that's probably where our goals would sit for it. Bit of a fast pack.
yeah.
So yeah, starting to really it's sort of pulling us in.
Oh, fantastic. That's great news. Um,
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, there's so many different routes that you can unlock, and what I've really enjoyed for the SK, but in particular leading up to the SK, is I was studying the map, and then I would think, I don't, you can only handle so much of a training load. So I was trying to think, well, how can I do like a 4 hour run or a 6 hour run and be able to link in some of the route of the SK, so that when I attempt the SK, it's not completely unfamiliar, because you don't want to be necessarily 15 hours into a run and not know where you are, especially when like the sun's going down or the weather's no good. Um, so I've been pretty strategic with my recce's, and it's so much fun. You, you can come at the Tararuas from a whole lot of different access points. Like you can come in from Kaitoki, you can come in from Holdsworth, Waihine Gorge, right up at Putaro. You can come in from multiple sites on the other side as well. And so there's so many different loops and permutations that you can do. And I don't know, I've just got that Tararua appetite at the moment where I just can't get enough. Um, it's fantastic. There's one thing you have to watch out for, is that the training load on the body can be pretty intense from those mountains. I've often found, like, previously I might go for a long Sunday run around the bays with some of the Scottish runners, and you can hit a solid pace and still feel tired, but you're pretty much recovered by Monday or Tuesday. You go and do a several hour Tararua run and you're still in recovery mode by like Wednesday or Thursday sometimes. So I'm sure you get some fantastic gains from it, but you've got to double your recovery window.
Yeah, that's awesome. I forgot what I was going to say. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, and also like doing those, weekend missions, getting into taste for different little bits of the SK, but you also just get the lay of the land, don't you? Like just getting familiar with the orientation of things and how it sort of all links up, eh?
It's amazing how satisfying it is to make those connections after looking at them on the map and then running them or hiking them. There must be some other people out there who are as peculiar as I am, but I get a huge amount of satisfaction from that, which I guess is quite nice because it's a pretty cheap pleasure activity.
Yeah, there's something really satisfying about getting to know like a mountainous area, eh? And starting to plug together all the routes and getting to know it like intimately over a long period of time. It's really satisfying. I know the South Islanders talking about your fatigue from missions, which you mentioned a couple of times. On South Islanders, we've talked to before. We talk about adventure fatigue. It's almost like it's not just the physical side; it's sort of like the adventure fatigue that you get from doing all this cool stuff too. Isn't it? It's like a lot of stimulation. Seeing cool shit on the weekend.
Yeah. I'd much rather that my training fatigue was coming from that than more small scale, typical structured training activities. There's probably a sweet spot about how much adventure running you have in the mix. I mean, if you're always fatigued because of a massive Sunday mountain run, then after a while you're going to stop being able to get in some key sessions during the week.
That's right.
But I've never gone to the mountains and regretted it so far. And I've had plenty of days where the weather was good and the sun was out and I missed it, and I've had deep regret.
How long have you known about the SK and had the desire to do it?
I've probably about 9 months, and then over the last 3 months I've had serious plans to do it. And I was initially hoping to do it with a buddy, Nick Craig, but he had a niggle and things kept getting delayed a bit. So I just decided to have a crack at it, a week or so ago. But yeah, it's been on my mind progressively. And I think what pushed me over the line was that the week before I did the SK, I was up at Mount Hector and I was doing a loop with Hamish Carson. We had gone up from Otaki Forks through Field Hut, Kime Hut to Mount Hector, and we had a loop planned. Hamish decided on the day his fitness is not as good as mine at the moment, which is a crazy thought. But he opted to go back down, and then I wanted to do a loop. So I headed along the southern main range to do a loop called Pen Creek. And when I was going down the ridge, I encountered two guys who were attempting an SK.
Oh, wicked.
And it was just so inspiring. I think you do see other people in the Tararuas sometimes, and each time it's wonderful to see somebody else enjoying nature. But the southern main range is particularly gnarly, and it doesn't get a lot of traffic because it's not part of the Tararuas trail. That only kind of goes up to the ridge in a select part of the Tararua ridge. And so to see somebody on the southern main range is always pretty special. And I stopped and had a chat to those two guys, and I was just so inspired that I got home and I thought, no, it's got to be done now or never.
Sort of like the conditions are there, the fitness is there, the want to do it is there. That's the sort of nice sweet spot, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So take us through it, man. Take us through your, what was it, 22 odd hours, was it?
21
odd hours.
21 hours and 10 minutes.
Right, man.
It was a good time.
Seventh fastest.
Seventh fastest.
On your first crack, I think it is.
Yeah. Well, the story's probably typical for the SK, but I was rolling a little bit better than that time would suggest. But what happened was I went to the start line with Olivia Lawrence, and she was doing an SK Tarn, and so we set off at close to the same time from Putara, so we shared our logistics.
Nice.
And we were 5 a.m. at Putara Road End, and the first part of the SK Main Range and the SK Tarn follows the same route for must be around 20k or so. So we set out through the bush, and then you turn right up towards a hut called Hirapai, and then you go along to Hirapai Peak and some of the northern range. And it was, when we started, we had pretty bad weather. It was cold. It was a southeasterly, I think, and we were clagged in, so there wasn't a lot of navigation. So along that northern range, there's also no poled route. So like you've got different tiers of track mapping in the Tararuas. You've got your standard well manicured tracks which have dock signs, and then a level beyond that you've got orange triangles. Beyond that you've got just a poled route where maybe
Oh,
every
yeah. I know what you mean.
and then beyond that you've got no poled route, but you've got a semi-identifiable track that some people must have used in the past month.
Possibly animals as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the hierarchy. So
Yes.
the northern range is the latter for most of it, and so I hadn't done any of the northern range, so I was having to pull out the topo map pretty frequently because the clag had brought the visibility down, and it was also pretty cold. So that wasn't. I was a bit worried at that time because it's kind of annoying to be pulling out your phone and trying to use the screen when it's like wet and raining. But I managed to find my way. I only went down one false spur. So there's, after you go to Hirapai Peak, then you're into East Peak and West Peak. And East Peak has a false spur, which I mistakenly followed. And I eventually went back up, and then I went down East Peak to West Peak. And this is kind of like Leatherwoody, tussock. You can make out a track, but it's pretty slow going. You can jog a little bit in places, but you have to hike in other places. So typically you'd be moving along at about 14-minute kilometers. So it seems pretty slow to a roadie. Yeah, and then I was along the northern ridge there, and I had put all my layers on, and I was shivering, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a tough one. But happily, once I got to Dundas, which is one of the peaks that comes along, then the sun had started to break through the clag, and I felt some warmth on the torso. And from then on, I had a hell of a time. It was really enjoyable. So you get through the northern part of the main range, and then you come to Arete. So Arete is a peak which is pretty hard to access. It's kind of centralish in the Tararua range. It's very featureless as well. To get to it from any access point, you have to kind of make your way through about 20 kilometers of rough terrain. So it was cool to get to Arete. That was the first time I'd actually got there. And then from Arete, you join the Tararuas Trail. So there's a stretch where that trail is well developed. It's got some dock signs, and ordinarily it should be pretty easy going, but it's usually pretty muddy because it's always muddy in the Tararuas because there's always clag and cloud and moisture, and that one gets a lot of foot traffic. But I really enjoyed that part. It was sunny. The sun had just come up. I wasn't cold anymore, and I was moving pretty well. And I dropped down to the hut, which is the next water station, which is called Drac Biv. So the one before that had been Hirapai Hut. So you're several hours without water between those two huts. I think it might have been around 3 hours. So could be a little bit more even maybe, but you've got to make sure you've got enough water to get from between those two spots. And by the time I got to Drac Biv, the day was like really hot now. So like I filled up my water, and then I had to like squirt my face with water and my torso and the hat and everything. So you got to get the cooling measures going. So it's quite peculiar because it was only a few hours earlier that I was shivering. It's kind of part of the experience. So it's quite nice. I saw a friendly face there called Chris Howard, and he was doing the Tararuas hike. And again, seeing people up there out of the blue is just such a buzz. Yeah, so I would have been, it was about a third of the way through at that point, and then from Drac Biv you join on to the southern main range almost. So you come to Butcher Knob and Junction Knob. And Junction Knob is where the Tararuas Trail stops. So from there you'll go down to Waitawaiwai Hut and then make your way to Otaki Forks. And so Those hikers who do that route, they don't see the southern main range, which is the next part that you get into, and it's pretty hard going through there. You're on a poled route. The terrain it's in places it's really nice. It opens up a bit, and you can get a bit of a jog on. There's some small rocks. It's open, and then in other places you have these muddy trenches that are obfuscated by tussock. And you can kind of run through there, but you've got to take a little bit of a risk, because if you do, then you'll often drop into like an unforeseen like little pothole or knock your leg on a rock or something. So it's pretty tricky to move well through those parts. I mostly hiked those parts. Yeah, and again, so beautiful. I mean, you're around about halfway at this point, and then some of the key peaks that you then hit. So you have Kaparangi, which is a big mountain, and then you hit Mangahuka Hut, and that's another big one. For me on the day, both of those were really tough. My fatigue had set in by that point. I was about halfway through, about 40k, and it was really hot. And
like mid to late afternoon kind of thing.
Yeah, like just after lunch. Yeah. And I had started to get a niggle come on in my right knee at that point where I couldn't descend. So I was quite comfortable going uphill, even jogging up some hills still and jogging on the flat, but I couldn't descend. So it was a bit of a bummer, because usually you should be able to do at least a slow jog descent on many of these mountains, and you bleed a bit of time if you can't. But that's just, I don't know, that's part and parcel really of the SK. You can't, it's almost more unusual to get through it without having a few wheels fall off. So you've got to come to a three-wheeled car.
Yeah.
And again, like I met some more people at Mangahuka Hut, and that was great for the spirits. And after that hut, you have the infamous Tararua peaks with the steel ladder. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that.
I think I saw that on Andy's video, actually. Yes. Them going up them,
climbing the big ladder.
Yeah, it's I think it's about 30 meters, and it's close to vertical. And then the pre and post parts around the ladder are supported by some chains. It would be pretty hairy going with a huge hiking pack or in bad weather, but in truth, compared to Kaparangi and Mangahuka, it's often felt to be easier. I certainly found it easier on the day. Just because you've got some man-made structures there, and it's kind of easier to climb up a ladder than it is to hold on to little shrubs and try to climb up like a rocky cliff face. It's good fun though, but yeah, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, especially if you don't like heights like me.
Yeah, if the wind's up or something like that, eh?
Yeah. So once you get over the steel ladder and the Twin Peaks, then you've got one last boss, which would be the climb to Bridge Peak. So more or less, so you kind of start to come down a bit, and then you can see Bridge Peak and Mount Hector. And people doing the SK, they know that once you can see those mountains, then after that you're supposedly downhill on Marchant Ridge to Kaitoki, but that's an absolute mirage. But that's where your mind goes.
Yeah.
It's like when you look on a map of a race and there's like, oh, it's flat to the finish.
Elevation profiles, eh?
Yeah. It's not.
You've done I think you've done 5,000 meters vert at that point, and so then you know that you've got about 2,000 left-ish. So
yeah, still 2,000 meters, isn't it? Yeah. on tired legs.
Yeah, so I came up Bridge Peak, and I enjoyed that because my niggle was downhill only, and going uphill it was fine, so it's more comfortable. And at the top of Bridge Peak, then you come to Kaim Hut, and I had a friend there, Alira, and there was a huge buzz to see her. She's full of beans, yelling out and cheering. It was just so fantastic. I mean, yeah, seeing friends and other people on the Tararuas is just absolute gold. So I went there, and then she offered me a Coke, and I said I can't take any support because this is supposed to be unsupported solo.
Yeah.
So she had to carry the Coke back down to Otaki Forks.
Drink it herself.
And then so I made the climb to Mount Hector, and that's your final highest point. So once you get to Mount Hector, then you do have net downhill to the finish. And the sun was setting and it was really beautiful. So it would have been 8 or 9 p.m. at Mount Hector for me. And yeah, there were some clouds around the west-facing peaks, and then the sunset was kind of, passing through that to kind of light the sky on fire. So it looked really beautiful, and the temperature was perfect. I was wearing a singlet at 1,500 meters, so that's exactly where I want to be. And yeah, and that was probably the highest point of the SK for me. So I thought, okay, at that point, I thought I could probably get the FKT. I sent a WhatsApp message to some buddies and checked what the time was. Brendan Varty has the FKT. I think it's 19 hours, 47 minutes, which is very fast. He's super strong in the Tararuas. But based on where I was at that time, I could have gone sub 20 hours. I kind of thought that my knee would stay as it was, but it actually got precipitously worse. So the rest of my SK was quite hellish. I got down to Alpha Hut.
Yeah.
Yep. I got to Alpha Hut and it was then darkness, and Alpha Hut is the kind of demarcation of the beginning of Merchant Ridge, more or less. And I entered the forest of Merchant Ridge. It was dark, and then I was just in extreme pain in my right knee. Like I couldn't flex the knee at all. And so to make the steeper descents, I had to turn around and like hobble backwards down them. And usually people can run Merchant Ridge. So I've done it before. I think it might have taken me when I was sending it, it was probably like 2 hours, 30 minutes or something like that. It might have been around 3, but I think it took me 4.5 or 5 hours on this day. I just could not run. I didn't kind of mind that because in my mind also I realized I'm going to be able to achieve the SK here. So I had a certain fulfillment already. I was already pretty stoked, and I wasn't too fussed about the time. It was purely a pain issue. So when I stopped to take a wee, or when I stopped to check my topo map, when I started again and had to bend the knee after it had been straight, it was like excruciating. So I was like howling out in the forest like some kind of stray animal. It was a real scene. And
just being on your own too, in the dark. You've been going for a long time, probably not mentally. You just got the mental fatigue. The thinking's not quite straight. It just all sort of starts adding up, doesn't it?
That's right. Yeah, I had been hallucinating a little bit on the peaks. I mean, because when you're that long into any run, your cognition is not as sharp as it usually is. I'd been seeing like hikers in my peripheral vision, like clearly weren't there, and I thought that rocks were like little pods of seals and stuff. I mean, on second check, that it's just your visual system or whatever. But yeah, some strange things were occurring. And then in the forest there, Merchant Ridge is through a forest. It's goblin forest, and at nighttime, all the creatures come out. So usually I put my hands onto like branches and stuff to kind of navigate through there or to hop over stuff, but you'd have like big black spiders that were, I don't know, a couple of inches in breadth. There were these giant worms. You've got leeches everywhere for some reason, little animal eyes peering through the trees. And I think we had a close to full moon on that night as well, so that added to the spook.
The atmosphere.
Yeah, so all of the externals came together to match my pain, and then we had really just the perfect finish for the SK. So I did make my way like reasonably well. I can't complain too much, but yeah, by the time I got close to the car park, there's this little connecting track. I think it's called Dobson Track. I got to that, and I think I've done it multiple times before, but when I got there on the day, I was completely unfamiliar with where I was. I was checking the topo map, and like 1 kilometer from the car park, for whatever reason, it was pointing in the other direction. I thought, oh, maybe I've made a wrong turn. So like 1 kilometer away, I start walking back up the track. And then I'm just like, this can't be right.
Yeah.
So I continued along back the other way. And luckily it was the topo just, I don't know, temporarily not giving a correct GPS signal or something. And then I made it down to the car park, and we had Sean Martin, who had kindly offered to collect Olivia and I. And Olivia had already finished because she did the SK Tarn and was far faster than me. And they had the music blaring, and it was absolutely fantastic vibes. Definitely coming into finish there, and that feeling of the whole journey of the day and the big achievement, getting through the pain cave. Like like by far and away my biggest running achievement so far, like my proudest running moment. And I've done some things that I'm really proud of, and athletically had some good performances, but this for me was just the full package. So yeah, my happiness is definitely 10 out of 10. And I haven't been able to run for like the last week or so from that knee niggle, but my running cup is still completely full. It's very strong. Yeah.
That's so cool, man. Congratulations, eh?
Yeah, big congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's very inspiring, or just very like inspiring or moving, like listening to your story. Yeah, it's what sprung to mind is actually something about how you said, oh, I can't fathom doing a miler, but I'm pretty sure, even though it wasn't the miler distance, it's, it's equivalently as hard, if not harder, what you have achieved, doing 80 Ks and 7,000 plus meters of elevation is just
terrain and everything.
Is just, as you probably are aware, is no mean feat. It's incredible what you did.
Yeah. I'm so happy. Yeah.
And plus you're like self-supported, right? You're out there. Yeah, you're out there by yourself. Like, what was that like? Was that scary? Or was this like, I've got, like, what was it like?
Oh, it's half the fun for the adventure, I think. Like it'd be a different perspective to try and do the full athletic perspective, take some support, have some people put some food and water caches in and see how fast you could go. But for me, I like the kind of unsupported nature. It's the full adventure. So knowing that you're out there by yourself and that you can trust into yourself to get through these challenges and to be able to kind of find the right sustenance and to get to the right hydration points when you need to, that part of the adventure for me is like a big thing, and it's half the fun.
Yeah, the planning, logistics. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you've got to keep your mind switched on as well. I like that you can't just turn the brain off and just try to kind of get the whole musculoskeletal system firing at like max level. I like the smart route. Like I like the fact that you've got to stay attuned to what's going on around you, to the weather, to the navigation, to your fueling, to your hydration, to your temperature control. So making sure you stay switched on cognitively is absolutely half the joy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a big thing about that is actually, fueling enough. If we don't fuel enough, then everything kind of goes downhill. Did you find that you fueled enough throughout the mission?
Yeah, what sort of stuff too?
Yeah, that's probably.
Yeah, I recently had a bad experience at the Spectacle 100K where I had to DNF at about 80K because my fueling went belly up, and just from stomach intolerance and nausea. So I've been working over the last month or so to try and get my fueling right, and I changed my strategy to use like pure water for hydration, salt tablets for sodium and the other electrolytes, and then have all my energy, all my fuel in gels or solid food. And it's been working really well for me. I had that advice from a few friends and read a few blogs, and they talk about some of the different approaches you can use if you get nausea. So I've tried that and it's worked well, and it worked really well on the SKs. So I tried to hit a minimum of 1 flask of water hydration per hour when it's colder, and when it gets really hot, then I try to hit 1 liter, and basically just take 1 salt tablet, 250 milligrams sodium every time I take a flask, if I can remember. And then I try to hit 300 calories per hour approximately for my nutrition. And I've got like a collection of items which are kind of equivalent to, or close to equivalent to 300 calories. So the 90-gram precision gels are close to that, or like a small packet of salt and vinegar chips close to that, or a double Snickers bar is pretty close to that. So I'll try to have one of those items per hour. And I've found that the fuel and the pure water combo goes down better in terms of stomach tolerance, and I haven't had any nausea. So yeah, it worked really well for me. I was like almost clinical with my execution through to about 15 hours. And then I think I just kind of gave up the ghost once that severe pain came on Marchant Ridge, and I just thought, just got to get to the end. I'm sick of food. I'm not hungry. I might have had a cookie time biscuit or something, but yeah, I think the main thing is staying on top of your strategy really early, because if you don't fuel well early on, then that kind of lack of energy catches up with you pretty early in the event, whether you're racing or doing an adventure.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, it's probably pretty common to not execute your fueling perfectly in the last 20% of a run, but if you can't get it right before then, I think you're at risk.
Definitely, you've gone into the wells of your energy well and truly. If you haven't, fueled early enough.
Yeah.
So okay, well that's good.
That's cool,
good.
man.
Yeah.
What other questions do we have? I got a good question. So what are some tips for folks that might be thinking of this, people like us, who have these kind of goals of getting out there and perhaps doing a weekend SK, or maybe it's the Tarns or whatever? What sort of gear do we need to start accumulating? What's some good gear that we got to get for these long hike missions?
I think when you look at these ultra events, and they're always giving you the list of mandatory gear, and it's almost never necessary on the day. Those lists are pretty good for like Tararua missions or an SK. So an SK, you tend to need a little bit more capacity in terms of having to carry food and water. So you need to go up a couple of litres in capacity. But for most Tararua missions, where you might be doing a half day, or you might go 6 hours or 8 hours, I tend to use a 12-litre RAB vest, and I also have a running belt. So that's kind of my storage. And the belt's pretty good because certain things I don't find sit very well in the vest, like your phone. It's always bouncing around, but it fits really nice in the belt. And then in the belt you can have another soft flask. So it's a nice kind of supplement to capacity. And then in the vest, you got 12 litres, you can fit everything you need. I use a waterproof inner on that as well. Very occasionally you come across a river that you have to cross, and at the time you're never thinking really about keeping your gear dry. So I kind of pack all my vest stuff into a dry bag inside the vest. But in the Tararuas, you've got to have a base layer. Like I have two gear lists. One is for winter and one is for summer. It's quite different in winter because it gets a hell of a lot colder. But in summer, you've got to have at least like a minimum upper thermal. You've got to have a water seam sealed, waterproof and windproof jacket. You need to have a beanie and a buff, or a balaclava. I prefer balaclava. I tried the beanie and I always got a cold face, and then I tried the buff and I got a cold top of my head. And when I tried to put the two together to work, it never quite worked. So I got a balaclava.
Full Monty. Full. Yeah. A level.
I'm doing this. I'm that guy. Love it.
Dodgy mountain guy.
Yeah. I think it looks pretty cool. My friends, I'm not sure about it.
It's all about the situation that you're in,
Yeah. Sorry. And you need your gloves as well. So you need gloves, and you definitely need to have an InReach or a PLB. I've got an InReach, which it's a controversial topic, which we probably don't want to open that bag of worms. But you need one emergency SOS device, and I always have a headlamp as well. Every now and then you can encounter weather that for some reason you can't pass, and you need to hunker down at a hut, or you need to get back through the bush when things are darker than you thought they'd be. So I always have my headlamp on me. That's usually how I roll with all that stuff. But yeah, if you're using like an event ultra gear list, it's going to be pretty close to what you need for the Tararuas. And the only difference is that in the Tararuas, you'll use every single item every time you go out.
I guess making sure it's like good gear as well. So I'm thinking about the like with Tararuas, for example, middle of summer, and there's like seam sealed jacket. So I go out and find the like lightest, crappiest seam sealed jacket that I can cram into a small space for that race. Is my gear. That's not quite going to cut it. That particular jacket in the Tararuas. You need something a bit more solid.
Yeah. It's quite satisfying to have gear that you've spent money on and cultivated and actually use it. Like I get a little bit of a buzz from the night before every time I go out for a mission, laying my gear out on the floor and making sure I've got everything, and then getting all my gels organized and any treats. Like that's part of the fun. And it's nice to like use it. Yeah, there's nothing in that pack that I haven't used like in the last few weeks. Like everything gets used. It's pretty cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess just taking like a bit of extra, like for folks that are maybe planning their first loop out there, or of a particular route, just taking, like you said, with the headlamp, just in case, extra battery, and just taking a bit of extra food, and
Yep.
than you think you might need, just in case, like you said, you have to stop at a hut for a while with weather. So you just have a bit of extra supplies to be out there, planning for the unexpected, planning to be stationary, unplanned. If you
That's
have to
right.
be
Yeah.
stationary, because we can't always be moving,
Yep. And you gotta have more food and water than you think you're going to get through as well. Like I always have like some redundancy there, because it's like that planning. You always think, well, what do I need to get from A to B? And half the time you're not thinking about, well, what if something goes wrong and I'm out there for like an extra 4 hours? Like, do I have the gear to support that? Um, so you got to bake that into your plan if you're being smart. I think it's also anybody who's just getting into the Tararuas, I think you should be going out with somebody else. It's always good to be out with one other person, maybe for the first 3 to 5 times, and then that helps for safety reasons and your confidence as well. And it's enjoyable being out with a friend. But only after that would I start doing like solo missions, I think.
yeah, bit of confidence and navigation, reading maps.
Yep. Yeah, always got to have the GPX map file installed into a topo map as well, because there's plenty of places in the Tararuas where you're going to lose signal, so you wouldn't be able to use Strava if you've got your map on Strava, and the tracks can disappear unexpectedly. And if you've got your GPX there and it's giving you a little dot as to where you are relative to where you're supposed to be on your route, I can't tell you how many times that saved my bacon, but it's it's important. So also, if you're using your phone, probably pretty wise to have a power bank as well, because you can expect that your phone might last half the day, but it doesn't always. I've had a few stories where people's phone, like Sam Hansby said, he's starting the SK and he thought he had a full charge on his phone and it immediately depleted down to like 30%, and he'd only just started and he's like freaking out. So yeah, power bank in the vest is going to be pretty helpful as well.
Yeah, awesome, man. Good tips. So what was it like coming into the car park when you're finishing? Is it like, because sometimes we finish, I know myself, when I finished my first 100-miler, for example, it was very uneventful. Could you imagine this thing when you think you're going to be crying to the finish line and so grateful and overcome with emotions? But I remember my first 100-miler was just being like, oh, cool, I just did that. Yeah, oh, that was cool. Let's go home. What was it like for you, running into the car park there at Kotoki?
Oh, I was so happy. I think I probably was too energy deplete and in too much pain to express how happy and fulfilled I was externally. So it was more like this kind of really deep sense of pride and fulfillment and satisfaction that I had. But I was, there's no doubt that I was elated. And like Olivia and Sean Martin, who were there, they were outwardly full of beans and being so supportive, and it was great. And I felt amazing to get to the car park. But yeah, I think I was just so taxed that I wouldn't have been able to do like a little dance or anything like that. In fact, Sean was kind enough to take my shoes off for me. So yeah, I was definitely close to a maximal physical effort. Yeah,
Yeah, just spent,
yeah. But I would say that the happiness, it was like a deep spiritual type of satisfaction. I just knew that I'd really achieved something that I was so deeply proud of, and I think I'd already been patting myself on the back for the last 3 hours, in a way. So it wasn't necessarily anything specific about getting to that car park other than relief. And some of that joy of actually completing the challenge has already started to kind of come upon me at like Mount Hector, because I knew that I was going to be able to finish.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I would say relief of Kaitoki Car Park was really the main phenomenon.
Yeah, epic journey, eh? Yeah, it's
quite
like the week after as well. You've done this thing and you're not running much, and it's that reflection back, eh? You're like, man, that was bloody cool, eh?
yeah. Even Talia, my partner, she she hasn't shown much interest in the Tararuas so far. She's still enjoying her really runnable trail events and missions, but after finishing that, she's started to make a few remarks saying that she wants to do an SK, and like in the second half of this year, she's going to have a go. I said to her, I'll do it with her. She needs to.
That's cool, man.
It sounds familiar. That was like when I saw Chris, for his first miler. I think I definitely got more emotional than he did, actually. But I was like, I'm going to do a miler. It does work like that. So I relate to how she's feeling.
It's inspiring, isn't it? Like just watching other people.
And I think it's especially if it's someone, not to get too soppy, but someone you love, do this cool thing. You're like, oh, you inspire me. I want to do it. Yeah.
That's the natural thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's certainly something we're talking about at the moment is like, let's go and do some hikes together as a couple and start collecting some gear and planning some missions and going to some huts and just, different stuff, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll love it. You'll love it. It'll be so good.
Yeah,
very
awesome,
cool.
Man. So what's coming up for you this year? Other plans with your running and missions?
Definitely. I've got my February, March, April sketched out. My main event that I'm focusing on will be the Motatapu Ultra.
Oh, nice.
So that's in mid-March. And then I want to do, I'll do a little event before that, which is more of a primer. So that's the Queenstown Shot Over Moonlight Marathon.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been in for MASH and Jumbo, but my niggle is a little bit too much. It needs a little bit more time to recover. So I'm just going to go and support other people and cheer on with a cowbell for that.
Nice.
Faultline 100, I'm in again for that one. I'm really looking forward to that. I've got a friend, Matt Adams, and he's been thinking about it, and I'm hoping that he does it because, having a few other friends who are racing just make it heaps of fun. And that's a great event, the Faultline, so I'll be in for that.
Yeah, it's a great Wellington event, eh? Just the area it covers is just cool.
Lacing together all of the wonderful trails that are around the city and up towards Kapiti and stuff. It's just like, it's magic. And the whole community of runners do it. And it's so well run by Benji and everything. I think it's great. I really, really rate that event.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun, eh? Yeah.
And then the Tararuas, I've got another big challenge planned, which is called the 1500s. So it's probably a little bit more challenging than the SK. And it's a route that takes you to all of the peaks that are greater than 1,500 meters elevation. So it follows pretty close to the SK route, but has a few permutations. I'm hoping I can do that one near end of March, but I always like to have some Tararua schemes in place as well, and that one's in there.
That's cool, man. We'll look forward to seeing all of that.
Seeing you on Strava in person. Everywhere.
And we'll be seeing you at MASH this weekend for some yarns.
I'll be there, absolutely.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, man, and congratulations once again.
Yeah, congratulations, Chester. It's a pleasure having you on the podcast. It's been real awesome to listen to you.
Oh, thank you. Been an honor. Take care.
What a great chat that was. If you've made it to the end of this podcast, you must have enjoyed it. If you'd like to support the work that we do here, consider joining our CMF Run Club membership. It's an annual membership of just $60. Works out to be $1.15 per week, not even the price of a cup of coffee. It goes towards supporting all community initiatives that we do here at CMF Running, supports this podcast, Trail Girl Charlotte's YouTube strength videos, discount codes galore from our CMF partners, including events in connection with a New Zealand and Australia-wide community of runners and athletes. All about supporting each other. You'll find us at events, group runs, training camps, and online in our community Discord server. If you're considering taking your running to the next level and you want some one-on-one run coaching, you can book a free coach call with us on our website, cmfrunning.nz, or the links are below in the description. You'll get a questionnaire after you book a call, and from that questionnaire, we'll coach match you to the coach in our CMF team that best suits your personality, your ability, and your goals. All right, my friends, thank you so much for listening today. Have an awesome one, and see you on the next podcast or at the next event or run.